Lord of the Rings probably has one of the biggest fan bases out there, but like many other popular franchises have proven, with a great fan base comes great toxicity, and sadly, Lord of the Rings' case is the same. This became especially clear after the release of Rings of Power. So join us as we talk about why this fan base is the worst, and why you, as a Lord of the Rings fan, can do better. First, there's the denial and gatekeeping. What? A follow-up show about a 21-year-old franchise that's going to bring new characters and stories to our screens? Stop the madness. Just stop. Nope, that's not us. That's the fans talking. And yes, this is exactly what happened when Amazon announced the series and when it released its cast photos. In fact, controversy surged every time there was any update about the show. Now, if this had been the fear of the show going through the curse of the sequel, or prequel in this case, we'd say, yeah, it makes sense, but it wasn't just that. Instead, it's mostly about gatekeeping Tolkien's precious work and letting no new content come in. When the show released the photographs of Theo and Brouwen, people hated that they were using such a basic name to represent the beautiful world of Middle-earth. No, really, that's what they said. Another time, when the show's primary cast was introduced, people kept saying that their diversity was just a way for the studio to build hype with false controversy. Guys, what controversy? One that you're stirring up. Honestly, people, Gandalf would be ashamed of the behavior you're showing. Next, we have blatant sexism. The world ended when the Rings of Power introduced Galadriel as the show's lead. No, that's true. At least for the fans calling her a Mary Sue. If you're curious about what that means, get ready to be furious. So, Mary Sue is basically a type of female character who has no flaws or weaknesses, according to the internet. And according to some Lord of the Rings fans, Galadriel is exactly that. Why? Because she can do everything she sets her mind to, is good at scaling mountains and fighting the baddies, and everyone loves her without fail. Of course, the fact that Galadriel is 1,000 years old never occurred to anyone. The fact that she spent literally centuries perfecting her craft and skills is not important here at all. What's important is the hidden misogyny in all the YouTube videos bashing her about, well, existing. And okay, sure, even if we entertain this concept, do you not know that she's actually not loved by everyone? What about the mutiny she faces from the elves? What about when she was scorned by humans and was even saved by one later on? And a white man, no less. What fans need to understand is that being a tough female lead doesn't make you a Mary Sue. But hey, these people made up their minds a long time ago, and it seems like there's no convincing them otherwise. We also have to mention the hate against other characters, including Princess Disa, played by Sofia Nomvetti. So, back in Lord of the Rings, we were told that male and female dwarves are usually indistinguishable from each other because of their facial hair. But now that Sophia's playing Disa without an actual long beard or the works, fans are angry because it ruins the sanctity of the entire story. This just combines our gatekeeping and sexism points, which isn't the best thing, to be honest. Let's also not forget the racism involved. If you thought the misogyny was bad, this one's even worse. So, you may have noticed that The Lord of the Rings lacked people of color in the films. The same goes for The Hobbit, where even the dragon was a white man. Considering all that, how dare Rings of Power have diversity in their cast? We already told you how people are thinking it's all a way to stir controversy, right? And as stupid as that sounds, there's more where that came from. Fans are literally taking it as a personal offense that these hobbits aren't all white. Some call it quota fulfilling. Others are calling out factual inaccuracies because, and get this, historically British and Norse people were all white. They didn't even have dragons back in the day either, so why is that even being considered? Magic, elves, orcs, did they exist? So, if it's a world of fantasy that is literally built on the idea of a ring that rules them all, and if that doesn't sound absurd to you, why get angry over a person of color playing a hobbit or an elf? It's exactly like when Star Wars and the House of the Dragon introduced diversity in their cast. God forbid these franchises to start giving actors equal opportunities instead of pandering to the star race. Oof. These people are insufferable. Moving on to the endless comparisons. Oh wow, this one's a doozy. Also, a little more on the acceptable side, but only when you consider factual inaccuracies in the literal story. Not when people start spewing random facts or just outright claiming that this show doesn't fall true to Tolkien's story. And the biggest example of that is Elon Musk himself. Tolkien is turning over his grave, he said, allegedly throwing shade at Amazon, with which he's currently sparring. He added that almost every man he's seen was a coward, and only Galadriel was nice. Doesn't really take away the mindlessness of the first tweet, Elon, but okay. In response to him, Neil Gaiman took to Twitter saying that Elon Musk doesn't come to me for advice on how to fail to buy Twitter, and I don't go to him for film, TV, or literature criticism. Good for you, Gaiman. Good for you. Also, can people stop looking for a political agenda here? You know, it isn't that hard to accept that maybe, just maybe, Rings of Power is trying to tell a story here instead of pushing some agenda. Creating a diverse cast, not a way to hide the show's alleged lack of quality. Adding a new character to the story, not a way to bait fans into hate-mongering. The show is not woke trash. It's not trying to push an agenda or lesson down our throats. And there's no reason for you to think that just because we have a black hobbit or a black elf here. There's a hidden purpose of the mission behind it. Honestly, people, where does it stop with you all? Don't you see that this show's actually one of the most beautiful produced ones in recent times? Do you only see surface level storytelling without going into the nuances of the plot? That's not a great look for any Lord of the Ring fan. After that, let's talk about the plain meanness in all discussions. See, we get that people can be passionate about their favorite shows. We have many times mocked the Harry did you put your name in the goblet of fire moment from the films. But directing such hate because you cannot take a new form of storytelling for your favorite franchise is just in bad taste. Fans have even taken to Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and other platforms to review bomb the show just for the sake of it, and that too without even watching it. Like we said earlier, it feels like these people have just collectively made up their minds to hate the show and just won't listen to any other argument about it. This brings us to our last reason why these fans are the worst. Finally, we have the audacity. To be honest, everything just boils down to the audacity these fans have displayed over the months leading up to the show's release. In fact, there is this one tweet that sums it up pretty well. It basically said that we have Tolkien's books and Jackson's films, and they're enough. No one's asking for more Lord of the Ring content, and anything that exists after these is irrelevant and not worthy of any attention at all. Yes, that's exactly the opinion we were looking for. Oh, how will the show fare now? How will Amazon ever repay you for such valuable advice? How will it ever retract the billions of dollars spent on creating this show? And that's exactly why the audacity is annoying. You know how we said these fans were gatekeeping the Middle-earth universe because it didn't fit their idea of the story? It's as if the universe is incapable of attracting more fans. It's audacious to think that it's only the original fans that matter. What about the younger generation? What about today's kids who grow up watching the classics and shock, end up loving this show just because it's part of Tolkien's complex, yet wonderful world? As we said earlier, Gandalf, the entire Fellowship of the Ring, and Gollum and Sauron too will be disappointed. Question is, how can you do better? By not being obnoxious about the show and its lore, for one, but that doesn't mean you can't criticize it. In fact, we think it's actually good for the show to receive constructive feedback because, to be fair, it does need stronger storytelling. But then, that doesn't mean you need to attack its cast and its creators or go to the lengths of labeling its characters with a derogatory name just because you can't oversee their visible perfection. Be a fan, but whatever you do, don't even try to become a fan from hell. Accept that this is a story of high fantasy and that it can digress from its original path if that means it can become more accepting and diverse in its existence. That's a wrap for this video. What's your take on the hate Rings of Power has received? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.